I don't know why I do it.
It's just to wake me up.
Okay. And myself. Hello again. Welcome to Let's Be Frank. And we are going to be talking about the baseline. So we did have a little bit of a chat about this with Mbali a few weeks ago after our Psych and Leadership Alchemy workshop. But we thought it was important enough to touch on again and just get some more of Herman's thoughts on it, and if I have anything to add.
Yeah, so where does the baseline come from? It comes from, we were told about the 4 different states in which we typically operate. And there are 2 of those states which you try to never be in. That is the state of disconnect. In other words, not enough. So maybe I was just going to
say all 4 and then
say all 4 because then we'll come back to them.
Yeah.
So we've got a state of disconnect and a state of burnout. Then we've got a baseline state and a state of genius.
Yeah.
So the definition then of state of disconnect is where you not operating in the genius state enough. You kind of like that disconnect in terms of who you are and what you do. You're busy but you're not present.
Yeah.
Working on things that are urgent, not important. And you're very much distracted and not focused enough. State of burnout is trying to operate in the genius state too much. Really operating on adrenaline and stimulants. Very much deadline driven, which is a reality for most of us.
Yeah.
And that's often accompanied by meaningless passive entertainment.
Like playing games on
like
your cell phone.
Playing games on your cell phone. In the baseline is there we have meaningful replenishment.
Yeah.
And that's obviously where we'll focus a little bit on in terms of eat, sleep, exercise.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 other things. So, and then a state of genius, really there where we would like to be is kind of you're present and engaged, you're in flow, in a state of flow, you feel like things happen without too much effort and so on. There's self-expression there in a state of genius, you feel like you're making a meaningful contribution. And kind of there where the world disappears.
Yeah. But it's not sustainable to remain in a state of genius.
It's not sustainable.
I mean, that's what the burnout is a result of, too much genius.
Too much. Well, I think it's a question of trying to force being in that state of genius too much.
Yeah.
And the reality is, our bodies need rest and replenishment. That might be sleep, but it could also be other activities outside of work. And we hear there's almost this, especially among entrepreneurs, and people really focused on their careers and so on, is like, if I don't conform to this kind of norm of working 12 and 16-hour days, work 7 days a week, and have no time for anything else, then I'm kind of not part of that clan or that clique or whatever. Or that is the minimum requirement to achieve anything. And that's so wrong.
Yeah.
Because we know that our bodies require rest and sleep. A whole lot of things that happen there.
Yeah.
We know that we all require meaningful relationships outside of just work to help define, I suppose, who we are and what our contribution is to society and so on. And then, it should really be very obvious to everyone the benefits of exercising,
Yeah.
moving, and obviously then what you eat and how often you eat, and the contribution that makes
Yeah.
to our lives. But I think that, at the time of the workshop or just after the workshop, we created an incredible awareness about the importance of baseline. And maybe just to reiterate, one of the studies that we mentioned were, dealing with executives, people in business. You find that people try to operate in genius state all the time.
Yeah.
Then that often leads to burnout, as we pointed out. When a similar study was done among Olympic swimmers, they found that these athletes focus on the baseline, making sure that you get the baseline right, and then that enables you to move into genius when required.
Yeah, it's kind of more organic than trying very hard to always operate in genius. It kind of happens naturally because your baseline is good.
So it makes absolute sense when you look at it from that viewpoint, in terms of, an Olympic swimmer is not going to try and break the world record every time they get in the pool.
Yeah.
But you do certain things every time you get in the pool, in terms of focus on technique and endurance and all sorts of different things, but you're not trying to swim a record time.
Yeah.
And you accept and and understand that in order to do that, you have to exercise, you have to pay close attention to what you eat, and also how important your rest is.
Yeah. And so many people talk about the same things. I mean, this just reminded me of Ben Hardy's 8 before 8.
Yeah.
Because he also talks about that you have a restful night's sleep, the nutrition, the exercise, and then he has a few other things. One of them is relationships, which you've already mentioned. What's the other one? Read or listen to something that inspires you, whether it's a piece of music or audiobook or whatever it is. I can't remember what the other three are, but I just think that they're so closely correlated. I mean, it's not a coincidence that so many people give you the same advice about your baseline.
Yeah. And whether they call it the baseline or not.
Yeah.
But that was fascinating for me. Is just in our team, the group of people that went on this workshop. You could clearly see, and we could see for weeks and months after that, people have this awareness.
Yeah.
And we actually know of cases where people have made real positive change because of that awareness that was created there.
Yeah.
So I personally try to be more aware of that. Even to the point where a couple of weeks ago I introduced my kind of productivity measurement chart, which we'll revisit as well. Just in terms of, taking stock on a fairly regular basis of where you are and figuring out what works best for you.
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's a one size fits all in terms of, we know that none of us should be eating pizza and ice cream, and that should be.
But who's the one who eats his
diet.
donuts and talks about eating his donuts? And who's that? One of the kind of gurus on this state of flow and whatever talks about his donuts that he eats.
I'm not saying. I'm definitely not saying
don't eat the donuts.
Don't ever eat a donut. But we know that eating 6 donuts for breakfast
every single
day is not a great idea.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not there in terms of trying to prescribe about you shouldn't eat it.
Yeah. But and there's no one size fits all.
No, there's no one size fits all.
Not everyone drink your celery juice every morning and you'll be good.
And the same thing with exercise, There's so many different opinions. But I think that there is enough there that we can agree on that you need a minimum amount of sleep.
Yeah.
whether that is 6 hours or that is 8 hours, or it is, I don't know. It's kind of the general norm that people talk about. And for me, it's about educating yourself about, what's out there, what's available, and then trying different things and figuring out what works. I think most of us know instinctively what is kind of that sweet spot.
Yeah.
If I get between 6 and 7 hours of sleep, for example, a night, then I'm fine.
Yeah.
I can every now and then I can do with 5 hours, for example. But if I do that if I try to do that for 5 nights a week, then I'm definitely going to feel the effect of it.
Yeah.
The same with the. I think with the eating, it's probably the one thing where I don't think we experiment enough.
Yeah.
And certainly something that I would encourage people to do a bit more.
I think so much of eating is habits, though. For me personally, I mean, I know what I can make for dinner that's quick and easy and that I like, and so I won't stray very far from those things, even though I know that probably there's something that's better for me. I think it's a lot of breaking habits, the diet part of it. So for me, potatoes is my nemesis, and it'll take a lot for me to cut potatoes out of my diet.
Well, I think that's one of the mistakes that we try to make is just go, oh, okay, cool. Enough people are saying potatoes are bad for you, for example. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but as an example, and then you go, well, I have to cut potatoes out of my diet completely. Well,
the Irish in me is screaming.
Yes, and for the same reason that I said I'm not saying don't eat a donut, because I like them as, but maybe there is kind of some middle ground. So that I will reward myself with a potato on whatever days
and
of the week or
also
whatever.
with so many different ways of being able to prepare them. Don't deep fry them every night.
Yes, there's so many ways that you can experiment with these things. But I may have mentioned this before, but just treating food, but looking at food as fuel. Yeah. So it's something that I try to remind myself of every day. And I do go through these kind of like patches where, I eat more bread than I know that I should. But then just reminding myself that just treat food as fuel. Yeah. And also then understanding in terms of exercise what works for you. Where I think we fall short is that you try something for 3 days or 5 days. Or maybe 2 weeks.
It's not working.
And then you go, well, that's not working. I don't, look like the super athlete or, the model or whatever the case may be. And then you go, well, fuck that. Where's my potato?
Exactly.
But so I would actually like to kind of revisit with everyone. Yeah. I became so aware and see what changes they've made and what benefits they have noticed from that and what they've been able to sustain. Yeah. Because I know that the changes that I've made and I managed to stick to it for a reasonable period of time now, I can definitely tell you about the benefits that I got from that. Yeah. So have you made any permanent changes since becoming aware of the baseline?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I've made any permanent changes. I've definitely tried to change the potato preparations or cut them down a bit or not get, definitely, I mean, we get a lot of takeaways working here. That's something I've done a lot of, and I try to cut down on that, or when I do get a takeaway, get the healthier option of takeaway, which there aren't that many. But
I disagree. I think that they are healthy takeaway options.
If you're willing to pay more money.
No, not necessarily. Yeah. Happy to run that experiment as well.
But no, so I mean, I've maintained my doing a 5K every weekend and sometimes doing 2, and trying to do a bit more than that. Either go to gym or do another 5K in the week if I can find one to do. So with the exercise thing, I've been all right, although not necessarily doing the right exercise. I need to figure that out. So that I blame Vitality for that and myself and my wanting to keep up with my Vitality points, because
there's
a trap. So they only really reward cardio activity, and I know that I should be doing strength training, but because I know I get rewarded for cardio activity, which is Vitality, you're stupid. So I'll do cardio more often than I'll do strength, because I get the points and then they pay me back for my shoes.
Yeah, it's kind of well, let me say it, I think that's a very silly motivation.
Yeah,
it's a very silly motivation.
When you have limited budget and you need the nice shoes, it's a motivation. So it might be a silly motivation, but if I miss one of my weeks, I don't get that cash back, and for me that cash back is really important. So you have to obviously weigh up what your priorities are, and in this instance maybe my priority is getting the cash back from Vitality.
So part of the baseline, we talked about those non-negotiables. You know, so what are the things in your life that are non-negotiable?
The glass balls.
So the glass balls versus the rubber balls. And just to make sure everyone understands that, is about the idea behind it is the glass balls, the really important things, the balls that you can't afford to drop. We all have to juggle X number of balls. And if you have to pick, which ball you're going to drop one of the rubber balls. Drop a ball that'll bounce back, or that
it doesn't matter if you lose it.
Won't damage. You can pick it up again and you can introduce it. But the glass balls, you don't want to drop those. And I think it comes to what are some of your priorities there.
So I think for me, up until now, I know health is probably far more important than money in the long term, but right now I don't feel like my health is at a point where I need to be worrying about it to that extent.
Isn't that one of the things that we keep telling ourselves? You know, I don't have to worry about this. I'm healthy enough. You know, people my age don't have to worry about this or that. You know, it's not true. It's like, you know, the old Chinese saying of the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And there are, I think, some fallacies that we kind of just accept about, you know, when I should start worrying about something. And it's about priorities. You know? I'm not criticizing your priorities. I agree with you 100% that Vitality is bullshitting a lot of people, and it's not really about their health. It's about Vitality, and it's about how much money they can make out of it. I'm not saying it's all bad.
It's getting some people off the couch. That's
but for the wrong reasons. And I strongly believe that they should revise. I think we may expect a lawyer's letter or tires
I don't
slashed.
think we have enough viewership.
But anyway, so whether
we're not even going to go into their nutrition things that they reward you for drinking low-fat milk and low-fat yogurt.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
I mean, that has been disproved so often.
And if you buy seeded loaf, then you're good and you get points back. And
So whether that is kind of your motivation or something else is your motivation. I think it's about what are your priorities. And I come back to the point that I made earlier about experimenting a little bit and finding. So we know that we very quick to default to our habits and those ingrained behaviors. Like, I don't know what your morning routine is, you know. So my morning routine, for example, starts with a cup of coffee and a cigarette. It's a routine. I know when I found myself in situations where, well, I don't have access to either of those, I'm actually pretty fine. So how do we change those kind of default behaviors, you know? Whether it's your morning behavior or whatever. It's about experimenting with some of those things. But experimenting for long enough, and actually paying attention to what we see,
Yeah.
and then making informed decisions for yourself
Yeah.
about what works and what doesn't work. And just not kind of falling into the trap of believing so much of the bullshit that either historically we've been fed, or that we kind of believe people like us
Do things like this.
do things like this, or don't do things like that. Really experiment with a few things and figure out for yourself what works.
Yeah.
Something else that maybe we must just also remember is about, for me personally, this is about cognitive function. I want my brain to operate as well as it possibly can.
Yeah.
For as long as it possibly can. And kind of working from there back to what are the things that I have to do. So I'm not exercising to, I don't know, go and compete in some kind of a sporting thing or whatever. Although the exercise I now can tell you that it definitely helps with my golf swing.
Yeah.
I actually noticed it riding motorcycle the other day for the first time in quite a while. I could feel that the exercise, just the fact that I'm fitter, benefited me in that.
Yeah.
And it kind of ignited another little excursion that I've been planning in the back of my mind for some time, which is now back on the cards again. So I start seeing the benefits in other areas of my life.
Yeah.
But only after kind of doing that for several months. In terms of dietary changes that I made, yes, I can definitely say that I've seen the benefits from that.
And for you, for the most part, you followed Dave Asprey's bulletproof kind of?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I know from for a long time I've known that I just have to walk down the bread aisle in the supermarket to gain weight, or walk past the bottle store, past the beer fridge to gain weight. So I know there are certain things that I have to kind of stay away from and so on. So again, my focus there was about trying to get rid of the brain fog, and that's where my respect or liking of Dave Asprey and a lot of the things that he, but I don't do all the supplements.
Yeah.
I don't stick to that exact regimen. I try to follow certain things as much as possible, like cutting out sugar. Sugar really is very bad for us.
Yeah.
And I never really believed it, because I felt that the amount of sugar that I consume can't be that bad. I can tell you now that I can feel the difference in terms of cutting out sugar.
Yeah.
So I do believe in the benefits and value of intermittent fasting, to the point where I now try to fast for 24 hours every Monday.
Okay. So that'll explain your grumpiness. No, I'm joking.
I was waiting for a comment like that.
It's not just because it's a Monday, it's because you haven't eaten.
No, I thought you were going to say, well, you're grumpy on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays as well. No. So if you do see any change in behavior, please point it out. I don't think it affects me. In fact, I see the opposite of it. I actually feel like I have more energy on Monday afternoons, kind of post 18 hours kicks in. And it is a subject that I'm reading up a little bit about in terms of the different types of protocols. some people believe that by just skipping breakfast
Yeah.
and only eating the first meal or whatever, they're doing
I do that every
intermittent
day.
fasting. I don't necessarily believe in that. Other people feel that, to get real benefits out of that, you have to not even drink coffee. I think I'll battle on my Mondays if I don't drink coffee at all. So I do drink my bulletproof coffee in the morning, and that sustains me well enough. But yeah, I just listened to somebody last night saying that no, even herbal tea or black coffee, that kind of kicks off certain processes in your body, and therefore that doesn't count as intermittent fasting. Anyway, so that's something that I do, but I don't follow kind of a regimen or an eating plan specifically. I just try to be aware and conscious of what I eat and how much of what I eat. But definitely not anti-ice cream or chocolate cake or milkshakes or any of those things. I definitely I don't want to live a lifestyle where I feel that I'm not enjoying anything.
Well, that's how I feel about something. I mean, I'm a lot more liberal with how much ice cream and that I eat, but I do question if I am ever feeling like, should I be having this? I think, if I were to die tomorrow, will I have regretted not eating this thing today? So there are. I mean, I think there's obviously that could make me more likely to die tomorrow. So.
Yeah, I think there's a whole conversation that can be made about that point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about it. Happiness at some point. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. So yes, happiness one thing,
relative,
but also in terms of, well, what, do I not eat the ice cream today because I could die tomorrow? Well, if you eat enough ice creams and you do a whole lot of other things which you feel like, what, I might just as well do this, then you're more likely to die tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's about kind of what's the correct term? Not prolonging your life, but to be able to longevity. Longevity is the word that I'm looking for. And I just think, having a little bit more awareness, because here again, I think historical facts, where we come from, dictate certain things. We kind of brainwashed into this idea of you do certain things up to a certain age, and then you do something else up to a certain age, and then you retire, and then you kind of start getting ready to just expire.
Yeah.
And people have a number in mind. If I ask you for a number, you'll be able to give me a number. More and more, we see evidence of, well, it's because we do that that people expire. And I think we must get over that.
Yeah.
And just look at the advances that there are in medical science and all sorts of other things. They say, well, you know what? Chances are, if you look after yourself and you do certain things, that you will be able to reach whatever that number was that was in your mind, plus 20, plus 30, maybe plus 50.
But are we planning for that kind of life? I mean,
exactly. So we're not planning for that life.
So most people's retirement funds, whatever that's got in it, is not going to sustain them for the extra however many years that they're alive. Yeah,
it is a potential problem.
Yeah.
But other than that, you find people kind of working up to that number, whether that's 60 or 65, and I think that there is definitely some changes already with people knowing that, well, you know what, people of 65 are still very active, they're healthy. It's not like we're all working in factories where the physical strength is, although, that's also been disproved. People are actually have got so much experience to share and contribute that kind of taking people at that age and putting them in shady pines and feeding them green jelly through a straw is really not helping us as there are so many examples out there in the business world of people making a massive contribution well beyond that age. And I can actually think of quite a few people that are well into their 70s and 80s and still running massive businesses. But it is a question of, well, you know what, we have these preconceived ideas about at a certain age. You don't do things like this or like that, and you kind of get yourself ready to expire. And I think that's wrong. I think that's absolutely wrong.
It makes me think of that ad on the radio at the moment that the scientists say that the first person that's going to live to 200 has already been born.
Yes. So, and I don't think there are many people that will go, oh, bullshit, that's not the case. We see it. Now, I'm saying, if that's the case, then between that first person that is going to live to 200 years, we have to assume that there are certain conditions that have to be kind of in place and so on. But between that person, or that person is born now, and your age, and my age, well, if that's the case from here, then what is the likelihood of us going to live so much longer? And yet, in our minds, we still have this kind of very historical view of. So that's why it's extremely important to me to really focus and pay attention to my baseline. I want to be able to have the cognitive ability and the functions and so on. And what do I have to do, and what can I do, and what are the benefits that I am achieving now from that? So I'm not saying I'm depriving myself of some things or I'm doing certain things today because I have a number in mind that I want to hit. No. So it kind of all comes back to, okay, what do I feel like today? What do I feel like now? How productive can I be? How well is my mind functioning today? And kind of, if I get that right and I focus on that, and I can maximize every single day, then whatever that number is there doesn't really matter that much to me. It doesn't really matter whether it's 80 or 90 or 120. What you don't want to do is you don't want to end up in Shady Pines at 65 and sitting on the veranda sipping green jelly for another 60 years.
So I think it comes down to a challenge to all of us, especially those of us who have heard about the baseline, those of us who haven't asked some questions about it. But don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. We've mentioned that before. It's definitely a challenge for me. Start now and you'll be in a much better position in the future. So look at your baseline, guys. I did the thumbs up again. Thank you. I haven't